Well, good morning. This is the AM CBS debrief. I'm David Combe. It's Tuesday the 10th of August, just coming up on 9 AM here in the Sydney office. Looking at overnight market action in the US, we saw the Dow up 45 points, with investors seemingly overcoming fears of a slowdown in the economy because of speculation of the Fed meeting tomorrow may see a revival of measures to boost the economy there. So I guess we're going back to a bit of stimulus Mark II perhaps. A bit more excitement in Europe, where the German trade balance forecast was for 12 billion euros. The actual number came in at 14.1 billion, whereas previously it was 9.8. So that really put a fire up on the markets in Europe there. The other bit of significant data that came through was the Euro Centix investor confidence number, and the actual there was 8.5. Forecast was for 1.6, and the previous was negative 1.3. So really, that's a significant indication of just what the investors are thinking, and clearly that showed in the numbers that we'll go through in just a second. London was also helped along by the resources space. So let's have a look at just what happened in Europe. FTSE up 1.5% or 78 points, the CAC up 1.65 or 61, and then the DAX up 1.47, so nearly across the board 1.5%. You mentioned the Dow up 45, the S&P 500 up 6, and the Nasdaq up 17. And then just looking here at what we can expect this morning on open, slightly more tepid reaction here, up just 4 according to the S&P 200. We are getting up near that 4,600 level, which was the last level of resistance that it spiked off, and it didn't really like being up there last time around, so we'll see what happens this time. Hang Seng up 158 to 21,788, and the Nikkei up 30. Just still struggling to punch through 10,000 level there for the Nikkei. Wonder when we'll see the days of 40,000 for the Nikkei back during the property bubble in the 1980s, which gives us just some feel for where Japan's been for the last decade or two. Move across now to commodities, and we can see that both Brent and West Texas Intermediate were up 83 cents and 5 cents respectively. Coffee was up 2.2 cents per pound, corn down 2, cotton down 0.16, oats up a quarter, rough rice down 24. Now that's becoming a little bit of concern there for people that are holding that rice warrant just at the moment, although keeping in mind that of course we've got until October to see where that goes. But I think perhaps some of the grains got away, got a little bit overexcited. Certainly wheat's pulled back, having had that incredible run up. So a little bit of common sense coming back into things perhaps. I'll move on. Though soy at $10.35, up 1.5 cents. Sugar at $17.73, down 0.5, and wool at 905 cents per kilo was unchanged. Copper at 336.5, up 1.1 cent. Gold at $1,203.90, up $1.30, and silver at $18.35 was up 0.108. Now to our currency pairs. The euro is buying 1.3228 US dollars, and the pound is buying 1.5904 US dollars. The yen was at 85.92, the Aussie was at 91.63, and the Swiss franc at 104.86. So no sort of really big moves there at this stage. Okay, let's take a look at the economic calendar, and just to get a little bit of a feel for that German data here. So German trade balance, just a reminder on that. Obviously, that is the balance of inputs versus outputs in the German economy, and so really, I think I did mention those numbers before, with the actual figure, the forecast, and the previous. So for today, we have the NAB business conditions, Bank of Japan rates decision, more data out of Europe with CPI for July month-on-month and year-on-year, harmonised data out of Germany, out of the UK, house prices, visible trade, Canada, we have housing starts, and then of course the Fed rates decision expected to be 0.25%, and so that will stay still. UK nation consumer confidence, and then we go into tomorrow, which we'll obviously cover in tomorrow's morning report. Okay, let's have a look at some of the price action in the Falcon. This is the daily wheat chart, so of course we got up to these quite stellar levels. Looked like it was going to the moon, but now trading at $7.11.50. And we'll take a look at that rough price November contract. And that's come right off here. $10.66. So we'll hopefully see some floor here rather than see us run back down here to the support level at $10. In which case one would be inclined to say that's probably a good place to be buying. But for those of us that are already long, it's a little bit of a white knuckle ride here. Have a look at that Tabcorp trade that we suggested as a short some time ago, although we've generally got stopped out of that, and most people got stopped out of it. Some hardy souls hung in, and that patience is now being rewarded. It does look to be getting sold back off and below this trend line and back into a trading range. While we're on a couple of equities trade ideas, we'll look back here at the QBE trade, which is just seemingly moving sideways here, so not doing terribly much there. Have a quick look at the US dollar index, continuing to work sideways. And I think, as we mentioned last week, we'd expect to see it come into some fairly good support around this 80-cent level. Another one we've been watching from time to time is BP. Slowly grinding higher here from that £4 level, which seemed to be key. We're now up to 431 pence. So putting in quite a good recovery there. Quick look at the Aussie. This whole level through here clearly is going to be reason for pause for thought. And if we look back at that US dollar index, we may start to see some slowing down here and consolidation and sideways action, or perhaps even a pullback. Okay, well I think that about wraps up the AM debrief for Tuesday the 10th of August. As always, thanks for your attention, and we'll speak again soon.